Okay, so I'm here to talk about HTML5 elements and the HTML5 elements that you should be using. Now, HTML5, language of the web, hopefully we all know that. HTML5 is the latest version, and to prove it's a real programming language, we even got a logo. So we're legit now. But HTML5 introduced a whole lot of new elements, and a few of them kind of get overlooked a bit. So let's take a look at the HTML5 elements you should be using if you happen to find yourself building a website and you aren't already using them. Output. W3C defines output as the output element represents the result of a calculation. Yeah, okay, that kind of makes sense, but I just think it's a sensible place to put a number you've calculated. So here's what an output element looks like. Reasonably straightforward. Give it a name. The form attribute is used so that you can link it to a form, unsurprisingly, but you can just have an output element inside a form, and that'll work fine too. The for attribute, quite handy, will basically say these are the fields that this output's related to. It won't do the calculation for you, but at least you kind of got some semantic link there. So let's look at an example. I've got a little bit of JavaScript behind the scenes here. We've got a buy and a sell. So profit at the moment, 0. So let's bump that up. Boom. Now we've got some output. Now we've got a profit. And with that, Kanye's happy. Progress. The progress element represents the completion progress of a task. Yeah, okay, makes sense. It tells the user how much longer they have to wait. There's two types of progress elements. You've got the indeterminate progress. So what does that look like? Like this. Now, it's important to note that depending on your operating system, depending on your browser, these things are going to look very different. But you've got CSS. It'll help you out if you want them all to look consistent. The other type of progress element is the determinant, where you know where you are up to in the process. So in this case, we've got a value of 12 and a max of 26. The 46% in there is for a semantic purpose, in case this doesn't render. So that's where we're at. And that's how far we are through these slides, so don't worry. Now, just remember, even though you're telling your users that something is progressing, it doesn't mean they're going to like it. So, use wisely. Details. The details element represents a disclosure widget from which the user can obtain additional information or controls. Thanks, Spec. It's a way to show and hide stuff. Easy. So here's a simple example. There's a paragraph inside a details element. Cool. That's what it looks like. Okay, makes sense. I can click this and show and hide. Awesome. All right, so let's take that up a notch. Here's a bonus element. It's the summary element. Now, putting the summary element inside the details element will replace that default details heading we saw. And the open attribute, that'll default it to open. Simple, and we can still collapse and that if we want to. Now, of course, one does not simply use the details element. Unlike the other elements, most of the ones I'm discussing, they're reasonably well supported across most of the major browsers. Details are not so much at this stage. It won't work in Edge, won't work in Firefox, but there's JavaScript polyfills if you want to. Or, you know what, you could ignore Boromir and just simply use it, because it'll default to an open state when not supported, so everything will be readable anyway. Let's have a look at the data list. This one's possibly my favourite definition from the spec. The data list element represents a set of option elements that represent predefined options for other controls. Suggest some answers, but don't force the issue. That's the way I'm going to use it. So here's a data list. You basically give it options, kind of similar to a select. Cool, all right. What's that look like? Well, it doesn't look like anything, because you've got to hook it up to an input. Here's an input with a list. So this now, great, cool, we can use this, and that data list will now give us some options. So you can choose your favourite robot, but if you want to, you can type in something like so, and that's fine. That can be submitted as well. So I don't have to choose something from that data list, and this guy's happy about that. So to wrap it up, the 5 the HTML5 elements you should be using: output, progress, details, and the bonus summary, and the data list. Thank you.